went after her
Just.
and he disappeared. We were leaving.
I think we just.
And then they-
In DGS.
No, what?
At 3:15.
Anyway, we thought.
So.
Over,
Beware.
and they're just over on this.
Sorry. That's good. Yeah. Otherwise. Yeah.
They blend right in, and I just imagine just seeing this.
Okay, everyone, it's time to get started. We've got, we've just got quorum and one of the, counselors, committee members, sorry, has to leave at 3:30, so we've got a.
3:15.
3:15, we've got to blast through this, as quickly as we can, so let's go lightning and approval of the agenda, motion. And seconded by Claudia. All in favor? Let's go with the minutes. Motion for the minutes. And seconder, I'll second it. All in favor? Okay, let's blast through. Okay, so we have a public comments time, 5 minutes for anybody here that wants to do a public comment. Okay, we're going to move on to delegations. And I'm going to keep you to exactly 10 minutes. Welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Members of the committee, good to see you again. My name is Edward Porter. I'm a senior planner, urban designer with Modus Planning Design Engagement. And as we cite, we're supporting Bowen Island properties in the application for Seymour Landing before you today. So it's great to be back. I do have some prepared remarks that I'll just read for folks. And then we entertain happily Q&A to the extent that that's helpful for your deliberation. Thank you for having us today. I'd like to begin by situating our conversation within a broader context of master plan and community development on Bowen, specifically at Cowan Point, and recognizing that this context, the broader context, is essential to understanding the intent of our proposal, its logic, and indeed its merit. Cowan has long been identified in the OCP as a comprehensive development area. It's one of the few places on the island where growth and the critical infrastructure to support growth has not only been anticipated and directed in policy, but it's also been physically implemented, operated, and improved at scale over decades. Significant investment has already been made here to establish a neighborhood served by streets and trails, potable water storage and treatment systems, sanitary collection, treatment, disposal systems, drainage infrastructure, as well as those natural open spaces and recreational amenities we need in our communities. Our time together on site certainly reflected that reality on the ground, that the subject property is not a large area. It's largely cleared with servicing in place, and it feels unfinished. And it's in that sense that I'd like to offer an understanding of what's before us today. Bylaw amendment application actually seeks very specific use permissions to expand from what's already allowed on site, narrowly defined, and enables a certain residential unit allowance to allow for better, more meaningful, thoughtful development of these subject lands. The application, situated entirely within the footprint of the existing development area, is an effort. It seeks to update permitted uses and increase that allowable density and diversity to better respond to current and emerging community needs. So without the permissions in place for housing diversity, we can't address the housing needs. Without the density allowance, we have no business case. So it's important to recognize this is not a development application per se. It's an early first step in a planning process to determine, is this a better way to approach development on these lands? So with that in mind, we keep in mind that existing zoning allows that site to be developed as 9 large single-family lots spread out over the approximate 16-acre study area. That's the current as-of-right development scenario according to the current zoning. Whereas the proposed amendment offers the alternative within the same footprint, a mix of more compact forms, a range of unit types, neighborhood certain uses. In simple terms, we see that choice as fairly straightforward: a small number of large homes, which are abundantly available on Bowen, or a more complete neighborhood that utilizes land and resources far more efficiently. To that end, and to the idea of how we use our land resources, I want to offer a thought on a topic I know is top of mind for this committee. How do we proceed according to the guidelines that are set forth under Bowen's conservation development policy? Through our exploration discussions to date, we see clear and tangible opportunities to protect identified environmentally sensitive areas through the next stages of detailed design development, including expanded protection of the riparian areas adjacent Lee Creek, connecting to the Crown lands. We see further opportunity to enhance the quality and function of natural features on the site, including but not limited to continued removal and control of invasive species, enhancement of the drainage corridor that bisects the study area. We see these opportunities as tangible, measurable, and significant. We welcome that opportunity to engage further with staff, council, and the committees in exploring and identifying the best and most effective means and mechanisms to ensure those outcomes. To the specific guideline and goal that a minimum of 50% of the total land is protected from further development, and I paraphrase there, we acknowledge that as a substantial obstacle, specifically in light of what we've narrowly defined in this infill proposal. To dedicate half of the study area, or approximately 8 of those 16 acres, would be to render this vision, as we've described it and defined it, largely infeasible. The scale of what is proposed is already modest, intentionally in keeping with the neighborhood. And the requested density allowance is minimal in terms of what can support a business case for mixed use and multifamily forms of housing. So in a designated secondary growth node like Cowan Point, surrounded by vast extents of undevelopable natural open space, we have to ask if the 50% land dedication for conservation should apply to this specific proposal. Is it a priority that 8 acres of this subject property be dedicated for open space? Does a strict application of this policy outweigh the need for compact, diverse housing and the opportunity that this specific site affords? We see a slightly different way to embrace the spirit of this policy. We approach a holistic understanding of community need while exploring the interconnection between systems of community planning. Propose that a place like Seymour Landing can optimize infill development and better support conservation outcomes more broadly. That our site plan rendering that we shared prior to the meeting explores some of those options and illustrates one future whereby that future development is more accessible, walkable, connected to nature by design. We see community as connected to this beautiful place through a network of intentionally planned and designed open spaces that feel decidedly more urban, but suitable for this kind of development. That they're intentionally planned and designed open spaces, trails, and pathways that include linkages to neighborhood destinations, places to rest and appreciate those views. We see the program of dedicated seniors housing configured to include and take advantage of that accessible and active stroll trail that connects to community gathering space in that upper landing, the idea of a gathering plaza. We see the adjacent hillside areas accommodating more compact multi-unit homes in a mix of types and configurations, using that hillside to stack flats and transition grades. And ultimately, we see the build out of this neighborhood as a way of completing the picture, a more complete mix of uses, diversity of housing types and tenures, supporting a more active and vibrant neighborhood, supported by the spaces and places designed to support that social connection. And we see that activity and stewardship of this special place as a feature of living at Seymour Landing. The site plan illustration is intended to show how that policy direction can take shape on the ground, showing how that housing, open space, and those community uses can be organized within a very compact development footprint with an emphasis on quality and community connection. So the vision is about doing more with less, about building a more complete neighborhood. And as importantly, we see this vision as implementable. What distinguishes it is that the servicing has been addressed. The infrastructure and its capacity to support community need is not theoretical. It exists. It's built, it's fully operational, it's quality controlled. We understand this as such a uniquely tangible community opportunity on Bowen, allowing us to focus our discussion to shift from if this land could or should be developed to how and for whom it should be developed. Finally, I'd like to speak directly to the decision before council at this stage. Does this proposal merit first reading? Should we proceed to a more detailed review? And on a related note, directly address the inclination to defer the application until after an OCP update. As a professional planner, I appreciate the precautionary approach where context and policy direction are uncertain or incomplete. But I see that in this case, I believe both are fairly well established. Cowan Point is a designated growth area. It's been planned as such. Decades of capital investment preceded us to realize its development. Further, I think the technical findings and ongoing engagement insights of the current OCP process are reinforcing, not redefining, the already urgent and growing need for housing diversity, the limitations of service land on Bowen, and a continuing need to embrace best practices related to a more efficient use of land and resource. I believe that this application shouldn't be viewed as premature to an ongoing OCP update. Indeed, it should be allowed to proceed so it can actively be considered and contribute to that process. Deferral will only postpone the opportunity to make this tangible progress together, where we might further engage in detailed work, design, development, and that this rezoning process is really intended to facilitate. Moving forward allows us to undertake that additional technical analysis, design refinement, continued engagement. And from a planning perspective, that is where the most meaningful work will occur. The land is a critical community resource. By embracing this opportunity for clustered, efficient development where infrastructure already exists, we're keen to further collaborate in design that actively prevents sprawl, preserves the broader ecological integrity of the island, and ultimately fosters a deeper community connection and stewardship of this place. Thank you for your time. We welcome your questions and look forward to the discussion.
So do we have any questions from community members?
Regarding the larger property ownership and what is slated to come, I think that is very important when we're looking at what's happening on this 16 acres. You mentioned not having sprawl, but it would appear that, you know, the other areas of the property are undergoing similar clearing for future developments, which will likely again be asking for increased density. So I'd like to know and see if the municipality has any information on that. What is planned for the rest of the property? And the existing forest that's there, how much of that is going to be removed, because it's ongoing right now outside of this 16 acres where roads are being built and you know, fairly pristine second growth forests are being altered to a high degree. So yeah,
Maybe I can speak to that.
is Darren allowed to? I think that.
All right. Go ahead.
Yeah, if I can speak to that. In terms of your comments about clearing, there's been no clearing done in 10 years in that location. The only clearing that's been done is done to drought, trees that have succumbed to the drought. So no new roads have been built since the initial work was done in Seymour Landing. And the reason that work was done was to build the infrastructure to supply water, sewer, hydro, drainage conditions for the houses that have been built already in that location. So There has been no ongoing clearing. We're not in the process of taking any trees out other than those that are fire hazards. And the other major issue that we have taken on in the last year is the battle against the gorse. And we're happy to report that we're winning that battle. So we are a bit heartbroken that we've lost as many trees as we have to drought, but that was not caused by any work that's been done inside the last 10 years. So the comment that there's ongoing clearing is not true.
What's happening in the, I believe it would be the northeast section? Sorry, I'll just have a look at the map. I don't know how to refer to it, but
Probably district lot 2448. Kind of the northeast corner of our holdings, is that?
yeah, that
Yeah.
sounds right. Yes, it's just off the map, but there's a lot of clearing going on up here. So here's the development that's under.
There's been no clearing that's been done for at least 10 years. We have dealt with deadfall. We've dealt with standing dead trees, which is good stewardship for fire protection and such. But we've done no,
Up in that forested area,
that clearing was
dead
done,
trees are being cleared from an intact forest?
no, in the developable lands that we have we're a development allowance of 14 single family units, of which how many are done? Three have been done. There's 11 left in that area that we're entitled under current zoning. And we're preparing the roads to do that subdivision, but there's no significant clearing, and there hasn't been any significant clearing for the last decade. So the only clearing, as I say, that we've had to do is due to drought loss and windfall.
Well, developing roads does require clearing.
Those roads have all been in for a decade.
16.
Any more?
Now, let me just substantiate the reason we do that is we do the heavy road work in this area ahead of time, so that when we have people moving into our new neighborhoods, namely along Seymour Bay Drive and just in that area, they're not, as neighbors, being bombarded by the noise and confusion of building road. So we did that on purpose on many occasions to create a neighborhood, just like we did on Kate's Hill, so that people could live there without major disruption when it comes to building roads. House construction is an inconvenience to some degree, but what's really, really tough is when we have to build roads with big machines and all of that. So we tend to try to get out in front of our neighbors so that they have a peaceful existence whilst we implement in phases.
And will you be applying for increased density above
No.
14 homes in that area?
No. So the existing holdings that we have to the northeast of this, we have a retreat zoning, which we're actively pursuing currently with a group that's in that arena and have the expertise. Above that, we're only anticipating doing what's in the current zoning. The areas between that location and the pilot project are all fully developed already. The pilot project and the lower landing area, which comprises of about a third as much development as what we're proposing today, is all that's left in that area to do. The reason we didn't include the lower landing in this application was because of the uncertainties around things like circle ferries and the uncertainty around things like the resolve of Beach Drive in light of that project, which is a very, very challenging project for the island, which will require an upgrade to Beach Drive and all the electrical feeding circle ferries. So we decided to just keep this, and it's a very valid question that you're raising, and the APC raised the same question, and it has merit, and I would love to be able to put all of our planning of the lower landing on the table. But our fear there is that it would get misconstrued until this very project was understood. So, if we can get to a place of clean and clear communication, Scarlett and I would be happy to show you the lower landing plans and what's there. And in short, broad brush strokes there, what would be is a permanent landing facility for a helicopter in emergency, proper access to a future BC ferry location, a permanent, more enlarged Seymour Bay Park so that it's better than what it is there today. Permanent parking for the golf uses and so on. So all of those things are at planning level. We just aren't certain as to whether it's consumable at this time until the rest of this is understood.
Is any of the forest at the top of the cleared slope, is any further clearing planned for?
That would be at the
forest?
top of Macintosh Lane.
Yeah. Can I just add there as well? It's just in the rezoning application booklet we have, there's actually a map in the back which shows all the current development entitlements under the current zoning and where those are. It's actually quite a helpful map to see what's still allowed under current zoning. We're actually looking at doing that color coded, and because of the same question from the ABC, to actually have that colored so that it's more understandable than what there currently is. But it's a very technical detailed map, but there's quite a lot of information in it.
It'd be good to have something like that.
Yeah.
We could review. So we can see there's 16 acres in the larger.
In the larger part.
100%.
Yeah, really good point. And
Because the 50%, I mean, it's for conservation, it's possible that there's areas that are still intact. Those would be the ones that we would want to have as conservation lands.
One thing, we actually have very little development units left that Bone Island Province owns. There are some parcels that are still developable, 1 acre stuff, but we don't actually own that. So that's another part of this explaining Bone Island Properties doesn't actually have much development entitlement left, other than the 11 lots where we were just talking about. We're pretty much out of unit entitlement.
it would be, can I just make one more quick comment? It would be really good if we could have that opportunity to put a map out in front of all of committee members and councillors for that matter, to be able to explain what is kind of a complex.
That would be great. Yeah, it's too bad we didn't have it.
Well, if we can come to, if we can speak with the mayor and council to figure out an opportunity to do that, there's nothing here that we want to hide. We would like to try to explain it to you. For example, the 42 development units of 176 we currently have are owned by our partners that we don't have any control over. And that's on a hillside, like this. And I would lay money on it that won't be developed in my lifetime. So part of the idea of phase one and the confusion around, well, there's so many units. Those units, it's just like areas of good point that will never be developed. Or not in any short term. And if they were, they would not address what the community needs today. And so this is why we're trying to hone in on an area where we can confidently deliver diverse housing and some component of affordable in that. Because the economic equation has to be looked at holistically in that arena, not in a vertical sense for just whether the cost of land, the cost of building results in affordable housing. It doesn't work like that. It's quite a complex equation. So if we're afforded that opportunity, I'd be more than happy to. Can I just finish three, please? I mean, this is important stuff for the future of the island here.
Well, I've got to say that we're getting a whole bunch of information now that would have been very valuable to us.
You didn't allow me to speak in the last meeting.
Well, that's correct, because
Yeah.
you weren't able to speak at the proper time.
Okay, so what I'm asking for is maybe that we look at a different way of engaging when we talk about land use. Not in this regimented way where it's polarized and we can't have a piece of communicated formal conversation. I'm only throwing that as a suggestion to the whole community here. Because I very much feel like we are not able to get that information to you because we're not welcome. And that to me is a really sad situation when we're trying to do right by this community. That's all I'll say.
Thank you. Thank you for your time.
Mr. Chair.
Okay, next, we're on to council referrals. Seymour Bay Landing, Daniel.
Thank you, Chair. So following that delegation, I'm here on the same topic in this amendment application for the land use bylaw and the official community plan. So we just have a presentation somewhat going over what you saw at the first meeting and yeah, just providing a little more information. So as you've heard, this is an application for these distinct areas within the Seymour Bay or the Callan Point overall development. So we have here the 9E and the 9D areas. Just a refresher where we are. So this application was introduced to council. We're on referral to committees. We then return to council with results of referrals. We then proceed the normal proceeding. We return for first reading. Those get the first reading bylaw itself is typically referred out. It is referred to the Islands Trust and typically referred to committees again to come back for second reading, a public hearing, third reading, goes to Islands Trust again for approval before adoption. So we're at this early stage of the overall application. And the proposal, as you've heard in broad strokes, is to amend the OCP and zoning to permit additional housing units and commercial activities centered around Seymour Bay Drive. So in my staff report that's linked, you'll see descriptions in those six different areas, sort of different programs proposed for each one. And then this was in your agenda, the additional information from the applicant, where they sort of outlined a little bit more, showing you what that looks like on the ground. So you can see those different areas where we did the site visit. But in broad strokes, again, seeking denser, more clustered housing in various forms and additional commercial floor area to create a viable commercial area. Yeah, and this I covered in more detail when I first came, but just saying this is within the Cowan Point Comprehensive Development Area in our OCP, highlighted in red where the lots are. And so the amendment would be to seek to increase the number of units that are permitted in that area, which the OCP has a set number of units. And in the land use bylaw, they are within area 9A of the CD6 zone. It's quite a complicated zone. I haven't highlighted here, but it's the same area as this 9A area. And then just speaking to what the applicant spoke to in their delegation, this is included in their application amendment form that's on our public notice page on our website that I think is linked to my report. And it just highlights sort of the big areas of remaining potential development within the Cowan Point area. So you see in gray, sort of where my cursor is up here, area 1 has 40 remaining units that is not owned by Bowen Island Properties. This area 3 that's sort of above McIntosh Lane, immediately above the proposed development. One lot exists remaining permission for 2 lots remaining with a minimum size of 1 acre. Again, that property is not owned by Bowen Island Properties. Area.
Sorry, could you show me what the cursor?
Sorry, so with my cursor, if you can follow it, it's sort of right in, I had a laser pointer, but it's as we go across the map, area 1, big gray area, since it has 40 remaining units left in the entitlement, is owned by a partner of Bowen Island Properties. Area 3 as well as that area above McIntosh Lane, sort of above the subject property. And then area 8, as you see over here, has the zoning for a retreat center and then 11 residential lots. And we have two active subdivision applications for that. Not for the 11 lots, but for the next phase of their development in that area.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
There's another phase in addition to the 11
No,
lots?
no, the subdivision is not for the full 11 lots. It's for a partial. For a partial piece of that, it's not to create 11 lots, but it's to create 3 and then 3, I believe, off the top of my head is the lot. So the retreat center lot and some residential lots. That's allowed under the current zoning. And then area 6 you see over here is an active subdivision to create. No, this one here, this pending lot. And then again, it's area 6. So yeah, just to give you an overall concept, this is in the application package, but to give you an overall concept of the Cowan Point area. So then obviously we are mostly focused today on this area 11 below Seymour Bay Drive. And the land use application overall so seeks to amend the area 9 to increase the number of dwelling units from 48 to 200, permit additional commercial uses. So example, daycare and retail uses, permit recreational facilities in that area 6 is sort of on the left side of the map when I showed it. Increased area for commercial activity, and then a 30-bedroom guest house. The committee goes to a site visit March 3rd. As is tradition, it was a wet and cold day. We always plan that nicely. So hopefully that gave you a sense of the scale of the site and the layout of the land. And then I just wanted to bring some of the text from our conservation development policy that could be a topic for discussion today. So the guidelines just to provide protection of environmentally sensitive areas, green space. The policy says the incorporation of principles of conservation development with a goal that a minimum of 50% of the total land is protected from further development. And then at the end of the guidelines, it says that council may consider the application of this policy in balance with other municipal targets and policies. A couple definitions that are in the policy, so it defines conservation development. So it talks about biodiversity, farmland, ecosystem services, ecological corridors, scenic landscapes, historic and cultural resources. And then it's as well protecting green space, and that definition is in our OCP and then linked in the policy. So land maintained because of its environmental, educational, scientific, recreational, or aesthetic qualities. And then just so in their current application, area 6, just for reference, I calculated the size of it. It's about 25% of the total rezoning area is that area 6. And I think you'll see in the development proposal, they do show additional protection around the water course that runs through the site. So you could, add additional areas there. And then the applicant also provided at the site visit and followed up, so it's in the agenda today, just a look at current protections that were in place through the Cowan Point development protection. So you'll see parkland dedicated and covenants protected and trail land. And so they estimate that that's about 35% of the Cowan Point area has been secured as protected open space through that process.
Not including the golf course.
Including the golf course.
Why would the golf course be included as?
So, yeah, so I think I would say, well, one, the golf course is set aside as land not to be developed. And then that's partly why, so the conservation development policy said it includes green space in that, and green space is area maintained in its perpetuity because of its recreational qualities. So I think we may not currently, like if an application for us today, would probably say, maybe a stronger preference is to have a golf course as part of that area. Then that would be a decision of council. But I think in reading the conservation development policy that says recreational green space, seems like it could count within that. And that was the end of my presentation. So I'm open for any questions before you move on to your discussion.
Any questions, comments from committee members? So,
I'll start. I'm just a question from the planner. It's Lee Creek that runs through the area number 6. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And is that a fish bearing stream, like a salmon bearing creek? Probably.
Yeah, I believe it's marked as right. Sorry,
It's tributary.
it's tributary to it.
Okay, and so does that mean that it has different potentials from a regular stream setback?
It means that any proposed development within the riparian area, which is the 30 meters, would need to undertake a riparian area assessment. And that identifies what's called the SPIA, so the streamside protection enhancement area, where you can't develop within, and then development within the 30 meters has to follow recommendations in that RAPL report.
And the 30 meters is from top of bank,
It's from
not
top
from
of-
stream edge.
Yes.
So that can be quite.
Yeah, depending on the creek, it can make a big difference.
And so just the follow-up then is that what you mean by the extra area that could be protected beside a creek? When you said that 25% of the area is in, could be, area 6 is approximate.
No, I just meant like I calculated the area of area 6 sort of quickly off estimating how much of the lower lot. So it's like, somebody could do it more accurately and say, oh, it's actually 27
Right.
or whatever.
Right.
Okay, it's roughly. And then in terms of the extra area, like the applicant site plan as shown, that's in the letter that they provided, that's on the agenda, does show sort of the water course, the drainage water course that's through the site, and potential for protection along that corridor.
All right, thank you.
I've got a number of things I'd like to bring up. I'm wondering if we could bring it that okay, I can look at mine. So the document that we got from staff is that they want some comments on the proposed park. protected areas and the approach to conservation development policy. And so just put this together. If we can
Yes.
go to the next page. Okay. Oh, I can see it now. Okay.
Oh, I can show this.
Don't touch that. Oh, no. What have I done?
It's okay. Anyway.
Okay, so having a look at the park area, it's got a nice healthy technical forest in there. It's got if you look at the second picture there, it's there's some little rocky knolls that have made of bedrock covered with mosses and herbaceous plants, somewhat similar to the Bones or coastal bluff habitat. So some valuable stuff here, and it's got quite a nice picturesque trail running through it. And if you go to the next page, there's Lee Creek, and the point is it's running through, and the forest is helping prevent erosion from the spates that come when you get a heavy rainfall and that kind of thing. So there's some good ecological services going on here. And so the comment I make is this represents what probably the nearby cleared lands looked like before it was cleared. And forest cover currently provides valuable ecological services, carbon sequestration, groundwater recharge, erosion control, and homes for wildlife and that kind of thing. And it's beautiful. All those things are ecological service. And this near pristine site is an ideal candidate for a natural park. And so my suggestion is as part of a conservation development proposal, this intact part of the land would make an ideal contribution, and that the proposed thing, what are the entertainment facilities, outdoor recreational and indoor entertainment facilities, recreation facilities, and a vault with niches for containing ashes for the dead. These might be better suited in already cleared land. So that's a comment. And talking about protected areas, just looking at Google Earth, here's the top picture is the land as it is now, and we've got the different areas highlighted. If you go down to the next picture, that's what the land looked like in 2008. And if we go down to the next one, I'm used to those touch markings. That's what the land looked like in 2004. So we can see that over time, trees have been removed from the site over time. And so comments, except for Area 6, this site's natural features are greatly depleted. There's no area to protect here, special area to protect here now. But when we look at the Josephine Lake capacity analysis and the geophysical, geotechnical review, there's things that come up. One of the big things is I won't go into the details that I've highlighted here, but there's a lot of water leakage in their water system. Their consultant says things like further modeling using hydrologic logical models and depth of storage curves in recent years, a rainfall lake level should be performed to validate the 2010 study that they're basing the water flow. I think that the thing that we're looking at is there's a lot of suggestion that this water system needs to be reviewed, and I think we recommend that a second, as I think Daniel outlined in his document, the municipality could require a second review, an independent review of the water system. And the reason for that is, there it is, there's the map. Josephine Lake is a major water source. The Conservancy and Metro Vancouver and the Islands Trust have done mapping of the ecologically important areas on Bowen. And if you look at that map on the bottom there, those yellow areas are wetlands. Surrounding them are the light blue riparian areas. And so the concern that some of the committee members have expressed is increased density is going to increase water use, and we have these ecological services that are going on from the wetlands and the riparian zones that can be adversely affected by drawdown. And especially when we're looking at climate change with probably it's already happening, drier summers, and it's not going to get better. This is going to be an issue. So that's it. The geotechnical review just identified some rocky, steep areas that could well be places where, at least in the past, there were some rare plants and animals that live on those rocky bluffs. So we'd like that looked at a little more. Invasive species, it's been mentioned that the proponent is working on that. We'd really like to see a full-blown long-term plan for invasive management as part of this
Because the problem arose because of the clearing and construction. That's why the invasive species can proliferate the way they have.
Stormwater management. The geotechnical report kind of walked around the ditches that are in the area and just said they were designed by others and didn't comment on the
Yeah, well.
so I lost my train of thought, but the water management, we want a stormwater management plan for this area. It doesn't have much vegetation on it, so it's the water is not going to seep in the way it would in a forested area. There's some concerns.
Well, yeah, and Seymour Bay Park was irrevocably damaged by later added stormwater direction through the middle of the park with riprap, and yeah, it's not much of a park anymore. So that is a concern.
Yeah. And impact on of increased density on ferry traffic, that wasn't covered by their transportation report, so we'd like to see that. An approach to and the third thing was the approach to conservation development. In our view, this new request is for significant increase in density to fold hotel, and now it looks like, what's the increase in density in housing?
From 48 to 200.
So
More
that,
time.
that's significant, increase. And, I think it should require a 50% conservation addition to either park or protected lands. So that's it, short.
That was great, Will. Thank you for that cumulative thing. I did have a question for Daniel about Josephine Lake in terms of its managed, is it managed for from an ecological services perspective, similar to Grafton Lake? I know that's part of the way, you know, in terms of not Grafton Lake, the management plan, at least the existing one says to not draw down because of loss of wetlands, et cetera. Is Josephine with the same intention?
So what I know is the county utility has a license to take up to a certain amount of water a year, and they have a requirement to ensure that Josephine Creek has a certain amount in it per year. And they're different measurements. One's like cubic meters per year, and one is like meters per second, so constant flow in the creek. That's supposed to account for both fish habitat and downstream water license users.
Okay.
So I don't know off the top, and I'm sure I can find you more information in terms of like that amount of water that they can draw from Josephine Lake. Was that calculated based on leaving threshold levels in the lake?
Right.
I don't know, but I can find out.
Okay.
So
That would
yeah,
be
so it
very
does in
helpful.
terms of their license does require them to maintain flows in Josephine.
Flows in the creek.
To account for fish habitat and downstream license holders. And so the proposal that is before is not to increase their water license beyond what they currently have licensed in terms of amount of water they're allowed to take annually out of Josephine Lake is not proposed to increase because of this application, but it's proposed to essentially better manage the water that they currently are licensed to use from the lake.
Oh, interesting. So
How will that, I'm just wondering, from 48 houses to 200 and the 30, not sure if that includes the 30-room hotel, but do they explain how that's possible to just be more efficient with the use of their existing?
I mean, like that's why they provided the two sort of technical analysis from Water Street, but in essence, yes, like to use it more efficiently.
right, and that is.
Well, I would like to second what Will was saying about the proposed location of park facilities that are for recreation and indoor facilities and the area for urns, that taking out more intact forest is not the most appropriate approach, especially when we're told that there is no, you know, out of the 16 acres, there's nothing left to conserve. That certainly is a candidate for use as a natural nature park kept intact. So that I would like to see that at least somehow worked in or.
And just another point about the conservation development policy. I mean, as we know that a significant amount of biodiversity on Bowen Island exists on private lands, and like this increase in terms of coverage on the land from 48 to 200 residential spaces is really going to impact the potential to maintain biodiversity and green spaces within that private land. And so I'm very hesitant to think that the 50%, at least getting way closer to 50%, the argument that that it's, we're taking advantage of maybe some of the other green spaces, you know, the whole island perspective is an argument I find not, not in keeping with the conservation development approach, which we're trying to maintain biodiversity on the island with this conservation development. So I have a real hard time with not going to that 50% because we know so much of what we have on the island is on private land and it's the biodiversity that we care about. And, you know, that is a real strong thing for the island in terms of what people really care about. So we need to strengthen that, not relax it from my point of view.
And I wonder if there are areas owned by the developers that are as yet undeveloped, but planned for development that could be contributed towards the 50%. So if this current proposals for 16 acres, is there 16 acres of conservation worthy intact second growth forest in some of the other areas that are planned for future development? Do you know, Daniel? Not for it. Like, has that been even approached as a, not sure if we're allowed to talk to the, no, we shouldn't do that. Okay, so yeah, if their neighboring properties are currently undeveloped, proposed for the future, then certainly there is the opportunity to have a 50% contribution to conservation. Right?
Okay, just, okay, so
I'm just looking at the time and in your presentation, which I looked at briefly before I left the house, did you have some draft text in there we could start looking at about recommendations or?
yeah, but
Okay, never mind.
Yeah.
I just can't get it to zero out. Well, there it is.
it's.
Is that
spread.
the part that's in red?
Okay, so if you want to, pull that on the screen, yeah.
Before we do that, I'd just like to check with the other members of the committee that haven't spoken, if there's anything that Kate and Jeremy and Lawrence. Any,
Not sure if I'm muted. No, I don't have anything to add particularly. I think it's been laid out fairly clearly.
Jeremy?
I concur with your take on the preserving current lands with the path through. I've been down there and it's quite, I mean, if there isn't much to preserve, that's certainly one thing that is.
Yeah, that's the command.
So we want some resolutions.
The area 6, how many acres is that?
I don't know offhand, but if I measured it as at a quarter, then it must be roughly 4.
So, sure, and I'll just, the site 6 represents a near pristine forested area that would be an ideal candidate. For a
Three and a
nature
half.
park
3.5 hours.
as part of the conservation development process.
Right.
With the suggestion that the proponent propose additional undeveloped lands to, if that's 3.5 acres. Well, I can't, let's see, out of 16, anyway, to get us up to what would be 50%.
So this is what I was about to.
Yeah, and so Claudia was saying that additional natural lands, undeveloped natural lands.
Yeah, or, you know, there's restoration, you know, like the land will restore itself over time, as long as there's not a building on it. You know, I mean, it'll take a long time. Yeah, but in addition to get to the 50%, how else is-
Yeah. All natural.
Add up to 50%.
I would take out restorable. I mean, there's no point in having cleared land set aside for
So that makes
conservation.
probably.
And it wouldn't, if 6 was, is number 6 part of the 16 acres, right? It's 3.5 of the total 16.
Yes.
Okay. So that means that 12.5 is developed, so, you know, ideally, we're asking the proponent to look at providing a total of 12.5 acres for conservation. If 6 is included in that, that's already 3.5 acres, so then a 9-acre area elsewhere in their holdings would be able to meet the conservation development policy guidelines.
I think it's probably clear, even if, you know, you're saying you want to hit the goal of 50% and not.
within the development area,
Within the proposed.
right? Well, in the proposal area, within the 16, we're supposed to get the 8 acres within there, right?
Yes.
I guess I would say it would, you know, it's like within the application. Within the
Within
application. Right, so if the applicant had decided not to include the area 6, then the overall site would be 12 meters or something, right? And it would be the same. So if they include more land and said, okay, this could be protected, but included in the application. So
Right.
like half of the overall site, that seems in keeping with the like
Right.
spirit of the conservation development policy. They're saying this is the whole area of our
Right.
application and protect half. And if the committee's recommendation is seek half, I don't think you need to put the math in it necessarily. You just say half of it should be protected.
Right, right.
And it doesn't have to be in the footprint of where this development is, because it's already being cleared of all natural vegetation. So in the spirit of the 50%, that
I think Daniel's saying, no, we can't say, we can't go outside of the current application, right?
Well, I guess I'd say it's like, if it's like, oh, there's another area that could be protected. That's what the committee's saying is like, wait, some other land that could be protected, and that would be included in the overall.
We would have to request that the overall proposal include that extra area.
No, I think like the applicant can do, I think just saying you want it to be 50%, I think is enough. And the policy already says like the goal is to protect.
Right.
That's the various
They can
groups, right? So
figure out.
that's the priority, and then it's other.
Right.
I think
So I just started a new
Right.
one,
So we shouldn't tell them how to do it. We just say we want the 50%.
The Vice President Action
Yeah.
Advisory Committee recommended that.
I think it's DG with that, you're saying the area 6 is priority, and then other areas to make. 50%.
Make up the
So you are
difference.
saying, you are giving preference to area 6 protected, and then
Yeah.
So this first part would be helpful, right?
that's, that's your recommendation, then you're clearly saying that, you're saying site 6 and 50%.
Should it be make up or make up the 50% instead of add up?
and take out the 2.
conservation development, guideline requirements or I guess guideline specifications.
Point, 10 minutes and DG's got to go.
Yep.
We have, next, we do have Lawrence and Zoom now, so we're gonna keep quorum.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
So just as there's typing, but so one of the things would be a very transportation increased because of
Yeah.
effects on
And
climate change
include,
Consideration be given to.
or addressed, yeah.
Race.
And
and then
Will, do you want it about Josephine Lake?
Yeah.
we recommend that for the next one. A stormwater management plan also be included
Yes.
in the design. And who knows, they might have one, but we haven't seen it.
It's included in.
And I think they need to include that, this stormwater management, plan must include, impact, taking into account the impacts on, water quality, at Seymour Beach and, in the bay for the eelgrass space. It's important, it's not,
Oops. Bellgrass.
I'd like to add that, that we recommend that there be, further work, with the capacity of Josephine Lake, to manage the lake from an ecological perspective to maintain wetlands, and sensitive species. Because it's not, and take into account climate change because the current model was based on old data that's no longer accurate or may no longer be accurate.
It was from 2010.
Yeah, I mean, pretty good chance,
It
but
needs update.
yeah.
Because sorry, is that dated? The
Yeah.
So the Josephine Lake, lake modeling, I guess. Yeah. Because it wasn't.
it's probably.
potentially.
Likely.
Yeah, potentially.
So, yeah,
You could put in 2010, in brackets at the end or somewhere
so I think,
from 2010.
I think my intention here is to make sure that the assessment done is not just to make sure there's enough water in the creek downstream, but also that the wetlands and sensitive species, the aquatic species in the lake are maintained, so.
Could you insert the words in the lake after the word species?
Yeah.
In and around the lake. Maybe that's.
Yeah, okay.
So right now it says that further work must be done to maintain wetlands and sensitive species. I think we actually need to
Protect the.
like it
We're assessing, right? We need an assessment.
must be done to assess the impact on wetlands and sensitive species.
In and around the lake and take into account climate change because Josephine Lake modelling was undertaken in 2010 and may therefore be outdated.
And maybe further that the resultant management plan should take into account maintaining, let's see, take into account the drawdown on wetland sensitive species in and around the lake, or something to that effect.
I mean, the effect of drawdown. Take into account the effect of drawdown.
Bit wordy.
If the effect of any potential or something.
Yeah.
Okay, the further work must be done to assess the impact on wetlands and sensitive species in and around the lake. Take into account climate change because the Josephine Lake modelling was undertaken in 2010 and that may therefore be outdated. And that the resultant management plan should take into
Consider the effect.
Yeah.
Is you repeating yourself?
You're right.
What is the management plan we speak of though?
Yeah, consider the effect of drawdown on wetland sensitive species in and around the lake.
But to be resulting
And that
management
any-
plan, but we're
any
also just
resulting?
talking about a management plan that
We don't even,
yeah,
but one would assume there would be a management plan, right?
well, yeah, assess the impact. But it should also be specific to this proposal from the proponent, so. Do we want to ask that a new lake capacity modeling that the 2010 one be updated with more current information and climate change consideration? And then based on that, we would be better able to assess. Not sure this is tricky.
Okay, how about taking this, all of that, don't kill it. Don't kill it. Just cutting that and pasting it on top of that.
Of this?
Next,
Okay, yeah,
be developed.
how about capacity modeling must be done to assess the impact, so then it's right, that's the next.
Oh, I see.
So that's, yeah. Done to or and assess,
You think of the must.
To assess the impact on wetlands, the impact of the potential on wetlands and sensitive species around the lake. It's very long.
And then the last sentence, I think should say, the effect of drawdown of lake levels should be considered in the modeling.
and the result. Cause they're gonna do the
Well,
model.
just put that, because it makes sense.
And you start that sentence with the effect of drawdown and take out, and that any results management plan should consider.
Okay. Well, that's it.
Yeah,
I'll keep that. But just, the effective drawdown of lake levels on wetlands and some species in and around the lake should be considered in the modeling. So just take that last.
Wetland and sensitive species.
yes.
Okay, so that a new lake capacity that new lake capacity modeling be done to assess the impact of the potential development of wetlands and sensitive species in and around the lake and taking into account climate change due to the Josephine Lake modeling being undertaken in 2010 and
Just take out the end.
due to the Josephine Lake modeling being taken on, done this one?
Be conducted in.
Done.
Um, So, and the effective drawdown of lake levels should be considered in the modeling. Sorry, the effective drawdown of lake levels on wetland and sensitive species in and around the lake should be considered in the modeling. So Sarah, if you just take out the first, should be considered.
And the effective drawdown due to the proposed development. Right?
Effective drawdown. Yeah.
I think it's already in that,
Is that?
in that paragraph.
Take out in the modeling too.
Yeah, that's
You've got
that,
two, yeah.
perfect, take that out. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, because right,
That's
because we're
good.
doing a new model, yeah. Okay.
Good.
We just
Okay,
need to
so
add
these-
that, the parks, we need to add that bit, the Parks Trail, sorry, still back in the old name, Parks Environment Climate Action Committee.
Recommend that. 1, 2, 3,
recommend
4.
that, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, so 1, 2, this one probably, do you want to add to this or just full stop?
So. I'm thinking of past, that there's often been a transportation assessment, like impacts on increased transportation, so that the parks recommend that consideration be given to increase ferry traffic. I don't think that's clear enough. Consideration
Impacts of increased ferry traffic on,
should be assessed and presented.
impacts on,
Increased,
but the impacts on biodiversity, is that what you mean?
I was thinking climate change.
Oh, okay.
You know, and then all the cars going across the island.
Right. Emissions.
Emissions, yeah,
And very congestion.
yeah, very congestion and increased.
Maybe you should say which ferry. Well,
Who knows?
Increased.
Oh.
It apply to both if there was a new, if
So
there was a
the
new.
impact of increased density on the
Ferry
emissions?
congestion,
okay.
demand and
emissions.
car vehicle emissions. Increased vehicle
Right,
emissions.
and you're thinking to get,
Well, making it dense,
Having-
200,
yeah, having an assessment of the impacts,
yes.
right?
Other development proposals have included that.
So maybe it should be be assessed. Okay.
Perfect.
Okay.
Sorry, can I add to that point, just that the development as part of their application did provide a transportation impact assessment that includes a section on potential basic various impacts. So it's on their website, it's in my staff report. I didn't specifically present it to this committee, but it is included in their application package. There is a section that specifically is looking at potential basic various impact.
So, and were vehicle emissions assessed? Or, you know, like the impact of vehicle, was that included in that assessment?
No, it's assessing traffic
It's just traffic.
and congestion.
So,
So maybe you just want to say impacts.
And you know what, the congestion, ferry congestion is not in our purview, but the increase on ferry demand is because the carbon emissions from the ferry are extraordinary, so.
yep, so that that's within our purview.
Okay,
Maybe we should just say with regards to climate. So the climate impacts have increased very many. Climate change impacts. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I mean,
we should.
are we done?
Yeah.
Did we cover it all? Did we miss anything? Technical. That's it.
Well, Carla and Sarah, are we able to add in there, we recommend that once these conditions have been at least addressed in some way, that it comes back to our committee to, so
Yeah, I
we're
think
not just
that's
putting it out there that, you know, these get done, but then we don't get to see the results.
Well, this
And
is
assess the
recommendations, to council,
To council,
Mhm.
right? And I think the process would be eventually council will refer it back when it gets to a different stage.
Like our typical process, it would be referred back to you after first reading. I mean, I'll say some of them, like the stormwater management plan piece, like you can do it at the development, like the overall concept stage. It ends up though, like we required at subdivision stage. Anyways, because so much is impacted by just where, you know, buildings are placed, which they're not at that level of development yet. So I would think it's unlikely at first reading stage, you'd have a detailed stormwater management plan, because that would imply you know where all the buildings are gonna go. Where all the part, you know, whatever it is, where all the pavement's gonna go versus not or something. It's, so you end up doing it at subdivision for each lot, and it's super site specific. So I don't think it's realistic you would have that at first reading.
could you call it something, I mean, we want to make sure that the development is designed in such a way that the impacts of water quality on Seymour Bay and the eelgrass are included, and we do have the retrofit that happened previously in terms of the riprap that went in.
So often we look for sort of an overall plan, and then we would essentially then put a covenant and say like, when you subdivide, you need to provide a plan that takes into account these things. And it's like a master covenant that's on the property. When they come to subdivide, they need to show that they've met those boxes. But it's just because typically that site level plan, unless you're like rezoning just one lot for one building or something, you don't have that level of detail.
I think it's fine as it is. It's just not, it's not something, when I said, you know, that it comes back to us, I don't mean that we would get stormwater, you know. I guess just knowing what, you know, especially with the nature park and lot 6, like without knowing what the proponent might be able to propose in terms of conservation development areas, it's hard to assess. We don't know at this point. We're just saying, you know, it's not up to what the municipality has set down currently. So we'd like to see something else.
So I think, I would interpret like as staff, but that means at first reading, I would definitely be recommending it comes back to the park. So sometimes I brought stuff to committees and they've given comment at this level, and then they've essentially been like, we don't need to see it again, we're happy, whatever.
Yeah.
Like, don't send it back, we don't want to spend more time on it. But in this case, it's saying, okay, when we do that process, we get first reading, you want to see it again, see where it's ended up, and you can comment at that point, what's in the package.
Can I ask that the first bullet be separated into 2 so that the site 6, the nature part stop, and then from there, yeah. Because I didn't. Yeah, they're separate ideas. Yeah.
So do you want this last one still with that?
I think we can take it out.
Yeah.
I think we're there.
Shall we?
Yeah, I think we can excuse.
Well, I think
She'll vote
vote
first.
first.
Oh,
That was the whole point.
I'll move.
okay, and a seconder,
Second.
okay, all in favor? Unanimous. Great work.
Apologies for having me to leave early. It's pretty good. I actually made it.
Thanks, Daniel.
Then. Company.
Okay, Drew, Sheriff. John, Audrey.
You have shared.
Thank you, Committee. I'll get started. So Bowen Island Municipality has received an application for a land use bylaw amendment, which is for the purpose of amending a previously approved rezoning application in phase 3 of the Arbutus Ridge subdivision. The original plan for phase 3 was to have 14 cottages and accessory structures, all located within one large property. These cottages would be under common ownership and would be rented out to the tenants. The purpose of the proposed amendment is solely to establish these cottage units on individual lots to allow individual ownership of the units as opposed to the proposed amendment is applicable only to phase 3 of the subdivision. At this time, phase 1 and 2 of the subdivision are complete in terms of subdividing. In terms of building, phase 1 is fully built out with homes. Phase 2 is largely undeveloped, but several homes are currently under construction. So the Arbutus Ridge site is zone CD 18, which is split into 4 different areas or subzones that apply different allowances to the different phases of subdivision. And area 2 allows cottage residential development and is applicable to phase 3, which is what we're discussing. The proposed amendment put forward by the applicants now is to amend the existing area 2. All changes to the allowances under the zone are related to the proposed change to the lot layout of having buildings on individual lots, allowing individual tenure, as opposed to all buildings under common ownership. The applicant's rationale letter explains the challenges in financing the project, that the original common ownership layout is proven unfinanceable as it requires one entity to finance and carry the full capital costs of site works and construction, and then to recover those costs over time under a rental framework. So this change will not seek additional density and is strictly tenure enabling amendment. The existing housing agreements and eligibility framework will remain in place. Regarding amenity contributions, the applicants already contributed amenities, including parkland and trails, as well as a financial contribution to the community center through the original rezoning application. So staff are not seeking additional amenities at this time. We thank the applicant for their past contributions. The applicant also confirmed they remain committed to completing any remaining trails proposed for this phase 3. So being the next phase in residential development previously approved by council, the proposed change is not expected to have any impacts apart from supporting the financial feasibility of the project. For that reason, the staff recommended to council that the application was referred to Advisory Planning Commission and the Parks and Environment and Climate Action Committee and the Accessibility Advisory Committee for recommendation. Thank you.
How many cottages would be?
It was 14 units.
14. And are they restricted in size?
Yes, I believe so. Yeah. Yeah, maximum 4 units.
Change in density, just ownership, and so that land would be split up into 14 lots?
More than 14. There's a few. There's like a caretaker's unit there with some. Yeah. They're hoping for a commercial, like a convenience store. So I think it was only 16 lots. But yeah.
So, you know, I'm thinking the purview of our Sloan.
Yeah, I just want, sorry, I had to scoot out. It was me that proposed that we refer this to this committee, partly because there was on one of the maps that was called REPA 3A, it said that there were proposed park swap areas on that map. And I wondered, did you cover that?
Yeah, I spoke to the applicant. He explained the history. I guess it goes back to some previous discussions with him and Daniel, but it relates to an existing roadway that that crosses over what's delineated on the map as parkland. So instead of going through the work of kind of turning up that road and then clearing another area and building that road again, instead it was just, they want to limit that clearing. So again, even though it technically goes over park space, they don't want to create additional clearing. So basically it was that they were going to take that little bit out of parkland and then provide it nearby. So it's just
A little sliver?
yeah.
It's a little sliver and is it moved to another side of the road or where does it? Like, does it add to parkland somewhere or does it just become a verge?
It was just adding the same amount of area. I'm not totally sure where it was on there, but it's, yeah, just very
Yeah, I couldn't tell you.
original.
Okay. I didn't know it was just small. So how much size is it?
Sorry, I don't have a number on top of my head. Yeah, I guess I'll have to look at that and get back to you, like, it would be in the smaller.
Pretty small. Okay, well, this is partly why I referred it to the committee because I saw those words park swap and I didn't know what it meant. Thank you.
I guess I could. Oh, shit, can't see my, oh, can you see my mouse? Yeah, you can see my mouse a little bit. So it's right in this corner. That's where the road crosses over onto the parkland.
Oh, okay.
So that was where the swap was happening.
And so that it's gonna. Swap from where to where?
Sorry, it's not showing my mouse screen. That's what was being taken out of parkland and sorry, I'm not immediately sure of where they're adding it, but it was a sliver along this corner. That's where the road was cutting across.
Well, I guess my suggestion maybe for the committee then is, it sounds like it's a small amount and it's not particularly delineated or whatever, but if it's going to be added somewhere, that it be added to the edge of other parkland as opposed to a verge on another side of a road or something. So
It's not just about the small amount that has been taken out, it's the fragmentation of an intact, not conserved area. So as soon as you push a road through, then there's all kinds of negative impacts that come along with that. So it shouldn't be.
maybe we can just recommend that wherever the parkland
The swamp, land
The
that
swamp.
goes to park.
land that goes to park be added to other
At
parks,
the edge, at least the edge of existing. park.
something like that,
So
to reduce fragmentation, just to get the point across. Okay, thank you.
That lower lot there that goes along John Aubrey Lane, that is a big park there. That's one of the parks that we're rezoning right now. So I'm guessing probably there.
Yep.
Or is it getting taken off of there? I don't know. But that's also, and then there's a trail right away right beside that runs up the right hand side of that drawing. And that connects with the right of way that we have on the other property that's being subdivided on the other side of Arbutus Ridge. It connects with groundland eventually.
Okay. Well, that was my only concern was the park swap thing.
Yeah.
And I didn't know, it sounds like it's not significant. So did you capture that motion, that draft motion?
I got the parkland, that the parkland be added to an existing parkland to reduce fragmentation. And
Yeah, that the park swap.
swamp land.
Or that the compensation for removal of a section of park be located adjacent to an existing park.
Probably. Well, let's leave that.
We
existing.
can just leave it to them, then maybe they'll find the perfect little bit that will connect something. We don't know.
The compensation for the removal of a section partially located adjacent to existing parkland to reduce fragmentation.
Would you mind putting it on the
Oh, of
screen?
course, yeah.
Do you want me to stop sharing?
Are you finished with your?
Oh, sure.
That the compensation plan. For the removal of a section of the park.
The land compensated for the removal?
Yeah, the land compensated.
Is adjacent the right word? Because I thought that something could run adjacent to something else without being connected, you know? So shouldn't it say that it's connected rather than adjacent?
I like the idea of connected because then it also suggests you could have a really skinny one, but it might connect a wetland to a little ditch or something that would be really useful for amphibians or something. Yeah.
And so is it the developer that gets to decide where? And do they come to you and say, this is where we propose we will add it?
I think it's already in the plans as to where they were swapping to. I just don't have it open in front of me, so I don't remember. offhand.
But just to add to that, we would have to agree.
Okay.
Because I have seen older approved plans that have sort of a green strip down either side of a road just for the aesthetics and. But this is, if it's parkland, this will be, I think that'll help. Yeah, okay. Thanks, everybody.
Okay, I'm gonna make that motion myself. Do I have a second? Okay, all in favor? Yes, great. Unanimous.
Thank you.
Okay. So we've blasted ahead. We made up time. So thanks, Drew. Thanks, Daniel. Oh, I'm diverse.
Oh, gosh. Okay, so this was kind of a late item, so I don't imagine that you've probably got a lot of input on this detailed scientific model. But I thought I could just introduce, if you've got a few minutes. Okay, and so if you can bring that up, Sarah. I just wanted to let you know that the draft,
Sorry, so I'm trying to bring it on.
the one that's called Bowen Island Conservancy Presentation, which will be fine there. It's under 5.3, the first bullet.
Yeah, it's just I just thought when it's on my.
Okay. Or hands up at anybody who's already really familiar with this.
I'm almost there.
Okay.
Partially.
So
Sort
for
of.
the presentation,
So I'll just whip through it pretty quickly then, and then people can look at it. Not coming up.
Okay.
Okay. It's got a lot of slides. Can I just borrow your slides?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, yeah, thank you.
You are great. Just take.
Oh, yeah.
We can swap spots in here.
Let me see if this will work.
Come sit here. I'll move.
Okay, I'll just be.
That's fine.
Oh, sorry. So the reason I wanted to bring this to this committee is because this plan is just a draft. And it's a project of the Bowen Island Conservancy, and I cannot see this most. Oh, there it is. I must have it upside down.
Oh, clicked on.
Oh, no.
To the tab to the right of where you are, up the top. Maybe. No.
So that's,
This is what happens when you're a Mac user and you go to a.
there we go.
Well,
Oh,
these
thank you.
other-
You just like scroll down.
It's
Okay,
just-
okay, okay.
They're so far behind, you see.
So anyway, this is a project of a bunch of community volunteers, including doctors Wendy Palin and Tom Sisk. And they've been working through SFU to create a plan using all the different data that's been collected up over the years. They have workshops, got these core values, needs, the idea of how important it is, nature's in decline. We did halt biodiversity loss. So they had a couple of these workshops, 140 participants, and they came up with the outline of the plan. And I won't go through it all in detail, except to say that it's a very high-tech kind of plan, bringing together the habitats and the species and the attachments and intactness, going through all the data screening and coming up with this enormous big model that is good for an island our size. So it's different from lots of the other models that are out there.
And I might add, as a participant in this process, I've been extremely excited with some of the results that there's models and tools that are coming out of this that will be really useful for us in this committee.
That's why I was gonna take a couple minutes.
Yeah.
Okay,
So
so
that's-
just like this. This is what's showing, yes, so it's showing where the species richness is, not on Mount Gardner, more down in the cove, for example. The yellow is not from all their data. And habitat richness, you can see along the creeks especially. And ecological intactness, more intact up on Mount Gardner, the dark purple. And so they put these different layers together. There's like 195 layers of species and habitats and et cetera. And they came up with this map. So this is to give us a chance to prioritize where are the important areas for biodiversity on Bowen.
And also, if a proposal for a subdivision came along, we can check just to get an overview
Yeah.
of. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
That's the
and
kind of
that's
tool.
so exciting, I think, because
Yeah.
because in the past, we just kind of
Well, even if
have
you,
to do a site visit, and that's the best we can get.
well, and that's just one snapshot in time, and you
Yeah.
don't know what small mammals and birds and, I mean, yeah, you
Yeah.
can't.
That's right. So this is the tool that I think will be most important to this committee. Carla knows all about this too. This is just to introduce it. And so higher conservation values, lower conservation values, threats, human development pressure. Those are the big lots that could still be developed into many sites. And the subdivision capacity is the dark purple. So, you can put together these different layers and here's wildfire, threats to biodiversity from vulnerability to wildfire. So overlaying all these things and including whether the land is private or not. Here's intactness. I'll just skip through some of these protected areas. So each of these comes out as a map and then planning for a biodiverse future. Candidate lands for protection. And the existing protected areas are the purple ones there. So the other ones are candidate protected areas, crown lands, yeah. And
You don't see Lee Creek on that. That block of crown lands is incredible. I don't think it's been logged, actually. Some big trees in there.
in here,
Yeah, it's an extension. It falls.
so this is perfect. If you could check the map and we'll send you, the link is in there. And at the end is the phone numbers and the contact info, and because it's possible they're missing things. Those particular blocks of crown land, sometimes they're not on maps. I don't know why. And so this is the request. This is why council referred it to this committee, is help them with this draft map. Is it correct? What's missing? And any suggestions for them? Should there be another map that has to do with water availability? I don't know. So their recommendations are to adopt these findings, these tools in land use planning, advocate for new protected areas, focus on connectivity like we just did with the park swap land. And there's a bunch of detailed recommendations you can have a look at. And finally, these are the new tools. So I just,
Can it be incorporated in some way in our OCP?
we did as council, and that's one of the links in our agenda, is that after I referred it to this committee, I also referred it to this OCP steering committee for consideration of inclusion as a schedule, because it's not really going to change that much, right? And by that, I mean, this big one, gosh, where is it now? That one. So this is Bowen's conservation values, and over, the period of an OCP, it's unlikely that that map showing the places with the higher and lower conservation values will change. So that could go into the OCP as one of those schedules, the maps at the back, as a sort of reference. Possibly.
And can we recommend that staff look at ways of incorporating this when they are land use planning, when they get a subdivision proposal, that kind of thing? That
Yeah. What I'd like
be a
to do is,
resource that is,
used every day.
yeah.
Just before we get into that, I also wanted to say about this map, this currently, they have a slider. So right now, it's currently showing the top 30% biodiverse lands. We could, in the actual model, you can move it across to 50% and see what shows up then.
Yeah.
And which is in line with our current conservation development proposal. So there's a whole interactive map that goes with this, and you can get in there and move sliders and layers, click them on and off. And yeah, I propose that we all have a look at it, and I'll just go down to the very end here. Okay, here we go. Okay, so this is some data access is on the last slide. And if we can bring any suggestions, we've got either their emails are right on there. So if you've just got a odd, something that you've noticed, please just email them directly so we can fix it right away. And then that link at the bottom takes you to the interactive map, which is currently sitting on an SFU server, I believe, but you can see how it works. And then maybe we can have it on the next agenda with any recommendations that this group wants to make, because I can't do it justice in a few minutes here.
We don't have it.
Well, I was just gonna say that also the plan hasn't been finalized or made public. And I think this committee has received a link to the plan, so late in the game, so no one expected you to read it, but if you have time to look it over before the next meeting.
Yeah.
Now that you have access to it, that would be.
Yeah, but please don't spread the link yet.
Yeah, it's.
It's still draft, and the kind of things that you're noticing are exactly the kind of things they're looking for. Plus any big thoughts about how this kind of information could inform the kinds of recommendations that we made today, for example. So, does that help, Lawrence? Yeah, okay, he was able to see it.
Yeah.
Okay, good, thank you.
Thank you,
That's it.
Sue Ellen.
Thank you.
Right. We've got,
Sue Ellen up next.
Oh, am I? Yeah. All I wanted to say is, I was in the Ocean Watch Action Plan Committee, whatever we're called, there with Carla this morning online. And this is through the House Sound, Advocates of House Sound Biosphere. So Bowen is in, we're not only working with us, we're working with partners in House Sound. And that's what made me think of the fish-bearing streams today, for example, because those salmon move around. And I think I just want to let you know, we're networking outside of the island as well with the rest of the biosphere. And biodiversity plan I mentioned, there's also an eco library, like a digital library of reports, maps, shape files that make up digital maps. So the kinds of things that would be in management plans that Islands Trust might have, for example, just thinking is, we're putting them all together for Bowen that we can find, including some real old stuff that actually had where the fish had been seen in different parts of the creeks. That's from the Block report back in 1970 or something. And anyway, so this is under construction. And if anybody has suggestions about, Will and I are both on that. So if anybody has suggestions about a report I wish I had, or I have this ancient report or map, please let Will or I know. And then
Again, it's going to be really useful for our department. Because there's stuff that a lot of us don't know about, and it has a good search function.
some of the questions at the walkabout, for example, at the proposed development were the one at Seymour Bay, sorry, was what did it used to be like? Well, I had the Dunster biophysical report from 1990, I think it was. And so that's going to go into those kinds of things will be in there. So you can kind of, in case it's useful. We don't want to lose them. That's it.
Okay, thank you, Swell. We're now passing the baton to Carla.
Thank you. So, yeah, I've got a list of items here, and I do have some, just a couple of photos. Do you mind just putting them up while I speak? They're not until later in the list here, so I'll start. So the Grafton Lake Watershed Management Plan, we have approval from council for $100,000 expenditure for that. So we've gone ahead and hired consultants. We're working with Urban Systems to complete that plan. There'll be quite a few opportunities for engagement. So hopefully this community will want to participate in our knowledge holder workshops early on in the plan, and then later on to confirm that what we've done is that we're on the right track and that our risk assessment is valid. Right now, we provided them with all of the data and they're doing the desktop review. And a lot of what that's meant to accomplish is to determine what kind of actual environmental assessment on the ground kind of needs we have, so that we're not just, you know, there's a lot of work has been done. So we want to make sure that we're targeting things that really need to get done. So next on the list is the Bowen Allendale Skate Park, which we have heard about. Council heard about it from the group. But I don't think they've come here, have they? But we've talked about it a little bit. So they're early on in their project planning as well, and they're just, we asked them to go to council to try and just determine a spot where it could go, because that's kind of the biggest hurdle to jump through. I mean, other than fundraising and everything. So council has approved basically that the use of lot 2 of the community lands right beside the bike park. So now that kind of hurdle has been passed, where staff is working on a collaborative project agreement. So that's with the lawyers right now. And as soon as we get that signed and finalized with the organization, they can start their fundraising and start their potentially design work, but start going out into the community and getting engagement and feedback on what kind of a design they're going to go with. We also need approval from council for the collaborative project agreement. So there's still lots of process to follow for that project. Wildlife attractants and educational event is just referring to Sarah and I worked on a sort of a communications campaign for wildlife attractants. So that's something that we started early this year, and we have quite a few different tips for people to manage their properties for wildlife attractants. Part of the motivation for that, of course, was to get conservation officers to come over here. Council had asked me to organize something with conservation officers so that people and you know, a bit of an educational event, but also somewhere where the people here could ask conservation
their questions specifically surrounding the cougar. And conservationist seems to be a bit more keen on doing those kinds of events if we've already provided the proper education to the community about managing attractants and you know, how they can do that on their own properties before they come to just get the finger wagging from the view. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we did that. We've been doing that. We did that at the we were at CD Saturday for that as well, and we are getting traction with conservation. So hope to be planning that for next month. Fingers crossed.
And if you subscribe to the emails that come from the municipality, you get them in their little newsletter.
There's been sort of a different one we've been cycling through.
Yeah.
Make them really bright coloured.
Yeah, eye catching. Okay, so next, the climate ready infrastructure project is some funding that we are able to use from the climate ready infrastructure service, which I think it's the province, or no, it's, I don't know, maybe federal funding. Anyways, it's really great. You just have to sign up for it. They give you about $20,000, I think, per year. You can access it just to make your projects more climate resilient. So any kind of infrastructure projects that you already have planned and budgeted for, you can get some expert advice on, on climate resilient infrastructure. So we propose that we take a look at Tunstall, Crayola, and Buchanan Park. Buchanan Park, we've got a culvert washout, and Tunstall, are having some erosion at the end of the ramp there, and then Crayola Beach is similar. There was a ramp at the bottom that completely washed away. And that is actually, in case anyone's asking about it, that it's been in disrepair for a little while, but as it turns out, there's a crown strip down there, so we can't do anything down there. One, because it's below the high tide line, but two, because it's not land that is owned by us. So we actually
Another
have to
piece
get,
of that crown strip, isn't that interesting?
yeah, so we have to get tenure for that before we can do any work. So this is a really good first step, like having engineers working on that for us, that we can come up with a pretty good concept design that we can present to the community and to First Nations in order to get some support before because we need that support to present to the province to get the tenure.
And the new name for Crayola.
So that's something I haven't updated on, I guess, recently, but those names, the names were submitted. It seems to be a longer process than we anticipated. The name is Halaan, and it's a Squamish Nation name. I don't remember if we actually came to this committee or just to council, but the names were approved by council, presented by a member of the Squamish Nation who, kind of chose the names for us. And we sent those to the Geographic Names Office because it's just to make them kind of official and official records. And Islands Trust received, the Geographic Names Office sends that out for comment, and Islands Trust, for example, passed a resolution saying that they were completely supportive. But it went around to like different search and rescue organizations and of the other First Nations in the area and other communities surrounding. And Tsleil-Waututh was actually not very happy with us that we didn't ask them if they would also like the opportunity to name something. And that was completely my mistake, and I was very apologetic, and we met with them, and they said they eventually said, okay, you can go ahead, but it's not always easy to navigate these kinds of things. And Squamish Nation has very clearly said like that this is their territory, but we are still in the consultation area for Tsleil-Waututh Nation. So it's important that we always present those opportunities to both nations. And consult with both nations, even if they're not going to necessarily participate in every single opportunity, they definitely need to be invited. And so that was a lesson learned on my part. And since
That's great.
then,
So stand by, basically.
Well,
Stand by to hear.
no,
about
there's
it.
more news. Oh, great. So since then, it went back to the
Geographic Names Office, they wanted to go through another comment period, so they sent it out again. And that just finished. I just got an email from them a couple days ago and said, okay, this comment period is over, so we just need to approve 2 more little things, make sure the spelling is right, and then they can approve that. And so once they do, we are going to, that should happen in about 2 weeks. And then once they do, I think we're gonna go ahead with an interpretive sign project that I have planned for this year, which we would work with the Squamish Nation to have, you know, interpretive signage probably installed on the dock and some code where we can have buttons that tell us the pronunciation of the names and little stories about them. And it's more just about the cost of the signage and the effort it would take. Like, so we're putting it there so that we can have all the buttons together, tell stories about each of the beaches and possibly about like the island itself and that kind of thing. So it's going to be a really exciting project, I think. Yeah, well, that's fantastic. One that I'm excited to finally be able to start. So a bit of a long process, but
Do you know these projects, Shay?
yeah, in a minute. Sorry.
Please, there's more.
Yeah, sorry, and I'm just realizing it's 4 o'clock, so I'll try and speak pretty quickly. We got a grant from BC Hydro Community Regreening Fund. They to do tree planting at the community center, so it's very exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll do that this fall, and we've already kind of got the school on board to come help, and we got a fair amount of money actually, yeah. More than we thought we were gonna get, so we're gonna get nice big healthy trees and that will survive, so it's gonna be like a 1 class plus 1 tree kind of thing, I think,
Yeah.
so yeah, it should be a fun project. And then sustainable community grants that we offer. I don't know who was on the, Will, you're familiar because this has been quite a few years that the Environment and Climate Action Committee has been administering this grant program, but I think it's only been 1 year for the Parks and Trails Committee. So what I'm looking for today, hopefully, is to form this subcommittee to choose the grant recipients. And it cannot participate because she applied. But we've got 7 applications this year, which is great. We need 1 staff member, 1 council member, and then 2 committee members. So if anyone is interested, there's not that many committee members here, but if you are interested, maybe email me, and if not, I'll send the applications out to everyone and gauge some interest that way, I guess.
Or we could just decide on the ones that aren't here.
Yeah.
AG would love to do that.
Yeah. There's a lot of commitments coming up, especially like with our information items. We have 2 site visits, or I think those have already been sent out, but then this additional subcommittees and everything. So we're really putting the pressure on you guys.
I'll be on the subcommittee as the council person.
I'll be the first penguin off the voting members off the ice floe, and I will be one of those people.
But
You were the first one.
well, I wonder if one of your projects is in the queue for a grant, one of these grants.
Oh,
The biodiversity book.
yep, okay, thank you.
Community. Yeah, committee members who can
okay.
do it. Maybe I should submit one and then. Yeah, I would love to say yes, but with the phone book, yeah, right now, I'm trying to get that out. I can't take on meetings.
It's all good. I'll send out a request. And okay, what's next? Step code education and workshop. So I'm ready for pictures. So we held a workshop just with the building community recently.
This has to do with climate preparedness, right?
For climate grants, yes. So the workshop is called Optimize Your your permitting costs, performance, resilience, something else I thought. Anyways, but it's all about in step code environment, like how to make your building more efficient. And so we brought in a from these kind of energy modeling companies, and we had attendance of about 40 different people from the building community. So
That's
fantastic. It's really great. Yeah, we offered that in theaters. It was a free workshop. Sorry, not at all.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. See you later.
And yeah, well received. And it was on our strategic plan, so we're happy that we've got that done. Starting a lot of other free educational opportunities for that. So next, I just have some pictures to share about operations activities. So we were quite lucky for trails that there was no snow this year, because it freed up a lot of time. And so every time we, looked at a trail where they were capable of fixing it, they're like, all right, we're on it. Let's do it next week, kind of thing. So that doesn't happen very often. So on the left, that's a White Sails Trail in the Cape, I guess. It was in quite rough condition, like quite a bit of erosion. So it needed these stairs in the first place. And so they installed those. And then on the right hand side is Ocean View, kind of the connector trail between Upper and Lower Ocean View. Oh yeah. They did a lot of work there for the water line, but these stairs were off to the side and not part of it. So we went ahead and replaced those because they were in disrepair. Yes. And then we got a call on this washed up on Bowen Bay Beach. It's actually quite large. If we went with the next one, and then was leaking styrofoam all over the beach. So that was unfortunate. And then, but luckily our staff happened to be free and went down the next morning, and it was like pouring rain. We had a big amazing plan that we were gonna just bring down a shop vac and suck up all of the styrofoam, but it was too tough in the rain, so they just had to shovel it all up. But they managed to cut it up, and it was nice that we had access there, right? So that we could cut it up and clean it up and get it off the beach quite quickly, actually. So our thanks to John O'Donnell, our friendly community member who calls us when stuff like that washes up and actually helped us tie it up to make sure it was there by the next day. When we could get there to clean it up. And then the next one on there is this is Arbutus Point Road. We have so many, like Arbutus Point Bay, Arbutus, anyways. So this is we replaced those stairs a couple years ago, but then this bridge just wasn't included. So it was in a pretty sad state. And we kind of looked at that and said, well, this is not actually in a stream area, it's just a drainage ditch. So we switched and made that into a culvert instead, just so it would last a little longer. And our staff did that quite fancy rock work there, and a couple people have given us a call to say how much they like it, and so we're quite happy with that. Is that it? That's all I have. Oh yeah, because I wrote one more thing on here, it's just that we got new door handles for Tunstall and Bowen Bay. It's been a source of complaint recently because those doors are concrete and they're so heavy, and the door handles like we buy for the bathrooms and people get locked in there, and it's just awful, right? Like no one wants that to happen. But we got those nice ones that there's no clicky thing and just the lock, so people will not be locked into the pit toilets ever again.
Very good.
Yes.
Nightmare, yes.
Yes. That's it for me.
Right.
Thanks for your patience. I'm sorry to go over.
No, it's good to get it.
You have been really busy. Wow.
Yeah.
Stunningly busy. That's great. Okay, so information items are all there for us to go through on our own.
Yeah, just in advance of the site visits, if possible.
Yes.
Should
Maybe at least just look at the maps.
Yeah.
And the
Yeah.
proposed parks and
Yeah.
trails.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So we can
know what
come
we're
with
looking at.
questions, and when they come, you point, I want to look at that part,
Yeah.
that part of the map.
Yeah.
And then that'll be helpful.
Very good. And question period. the gallery is empty. Next meeting to be announced, and Claudia, you are free. We all are free. Thank you. Do we have to motion to adjourn or just? Okay.
We lost forum with Kate.
Okay. All in favor?
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Lawrence.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.